mile from our house when he turned to me and he said, "How do we get there?" And I thought he was joking. We've been going to that store for more than a decade, but the look on his face told me there was something else going on. And I wondered, how did we get here? How does my husband not know something so simple as going to the grocery store? So my husband, 20 years ago, he had a stroke. And what I didn't know was that he had been doing his best to hide the slow deterioration of his memory. But that was the day that he just couldn't hide it anymore. It's not just his memory. It's not just going to the grocery store. Memories make up who we are, how we feel, and what we think. Our memories make up our life. And I was really scared. I needed to understand what was going on. I needed to understand how every single year he went to the doctor and they said he was great, and now he can't remember. I needed to make a decision. Was I going to accept his memory loss? But what caused it? Was it his age? Maybe it was memory loss from the stroke. Or could it have been something else? I just couldn't accept it. So I had to do something. So we switched to a new doctor. And over the next 2 years, she and I became partners and dove in. We learned everything we could about brain health, about what happens to the brain when it experiences trauma, disease, stroke. Just we went on a journey to really get a deep understanding of brain health and regenerating memory. And about 9 months later, my husband and I were driving to a friend's house. And I told him to turn on this next street. And he looked at me and he smiled. He said, "It's not that street." And I stopped. And I realized he was right. We had actually restored his memory. His memory was back. And you or your family members may never have experienced something as traumatic as a stroke. But trauma to the brain may be caused by something as simple as falling off a bike. And many people have brain injury and they don't even know it. But what unites all of us is how precious our brains are in our life. And our brains are the master control center of our body. It is always on. It takes care of everything: your thoughts, your movement, your heartbeat, your breathing, and every one of your senses. A healthy brain allows your body to be able to fight off any possible infections and health issues so that you do not have to experience your memories or your thoughts or your body functioning, starting to fade away. What I know now is that my husband had physically recovered from his stroke, but we didn't know that his brain was still damaged. He was not ever given a brain health physical as part of his regular annual physical. In fact, most of the time, unless somebody complains about a memory decline or it's noticed by a family member and they tell the doctor, it's really not part of your physical. The physician that I worked with and I became partners in brain health. We want to help everybody learn how to keep their brain healthy before they ever experience memory loss and decline. So over the past 3 years, we've developed a brain physical that gives you an assessment of your brain's health and lets you know what your risk factors are. We have helped people just like you understand your risk factors, reverse damage, and restore optimal brain health. You see, life is made up of our memories and our experiences, and they're all stored in our brain. And I don't want you to go through what my husband and I went through. So in the short time that we have together, I'm going to share with you as much as I can so that you do not have to settle for a life that is less than what you want and what you deserve. So I'm curious, and I know many of you have your videos off, but how many of you want to be sure your brain stays as healthy as you do for as long as you can and as long as you live? Just raise your hand. Yeah, usually everybody wants that, right? So in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to teach you our 3-step plan for a healthy brain. And what are your risk factors? So in step 1, there are 3 essentials to a healthy brain. Step 2, there are 3 stressors that cause an unhealthy brain. And step 3, the thoughts you need for a healthy brain. So let's get started. Step 1, what's essential for our brain health, for your healthy brain? The first step of our brain physical is to learn your risk factors, because people tell me all the time, memory loss just happens. It's a part of aging. I've heard people say, oh, it's a senior moment. They say it in quotes, a senior moment. At our clinic, we think differently. Memory loss is not a disease, and it is not caused by aging. Memory loss is a symptom. We think that memory loss is our brain's way of telling us something is wrong. And many times, that is not the first symptom. Most of the time, deterioration of memory happens slowly over a long period of time. Memory loss can happen 10 years earlier than you ever even experience a symptom. So a healthy brain really can give you the ability to slow down, stop, or even reverse potential memory loss. So since we know that memory loss is a symptom, it is a symptom of your brain when it can no longer keep up with the bombardment of stress. When your brain is bombarded with stress, that stress becomes chronic. And memory loss is actually a symptom of chronic stress on your brain. And chronic stress is more than a feeling. Chronic stress is an inflammatory state. And the bad news is that chronic stress rewires your brain. And there's even more bad news. Inflammation is at the root of nearly every modern disease. Therefore, if you want a healthy brain, we need to help you. You need to find what the chronic stress is that your brain might be experiencing now so that you can reverse it, stop it, or actually not ever feel or have the symptoms of memory loss. So one of the easiest ways to determine if your brain is under chronic stress is just to look at the 3 essentials of life. And those are water, food, and air, so oxygen. So water, we all know water is essential for life. We talk about water a lot, but are you drinking enough water? Your brain runs on water. In fact, your brain is 75% water. And your brain needs water to function. But see, it needs an adequate amount of water. It just doesn't need any water. Water delivers the fuel to your body. And that fuel delivers the nutrients and minerals to your brain. And water is necessary to remove the toxins that you're exposed to every day, just like the smoke today. Did I lose something? Can you hear me, Bruce?
Hello? I can.
Okay.
I'm here.
Some people have symptoms when they don't drink enough water. So an adequate amount of water, some people just don't experience that symptoms, that they've not drinking an adequate amount of water. But without, if you may experience them or not, but without the necessary water, your brain is unable to function properly. And when this happens, and when your brain doesn't have the water it needs, it goes into a state of stress. So there are typical symptoms that you're not getting enough water. They're anger, depression, we're back, headaches, exhaustion, brain fog, the inability to focus, or lack of mental clarity. So you may have heard, everybody needs to drink 8 ounces of water a day. But if you think about it, it doesn't even make sense. How can everybody need the same amount of water? We're all unique. That's part of the issue, that we are all. And the rule of thumb is to take your body weight, cut it in half, and drink that many ounces of water every day. Because your body needs to be made up of 50% water weight. So then you'll be ready, you'll be fully hydrated, your brain will function optimally. And when you go to your physician and they measure the water in your body, it'll be 50% or more, and you'll know that you are not stressing your brain. The second essential to life is food. Food is necessary to provide the nutrients your brain needs to function optimally. A habit of eating fatty, processed food depletes your body's nutrients. If you don't eat enough nutrients, no matter how much water you drink, there will not be enough nutrients to feed your brain. So the rule of thumb with nutrients, with food, eat whole, healthy food. Eat from the rainbow. Create variety. Eat things that walk on the land, that swim in the ocean, that come out of the ground. And eat all the spices that you love. Because I'm sure you've heard that, variety is the spice of life. Well, that's literally true with food. Your brain loves variety, and it will spice up your brain. And when nutrition is implemented correctly, when you actually get the nutrients you need, your physical will show it. And when you go to your doctor, your body weight will come down. You will be moving more, your brain will be functioning, and you will feel so much better. Because you see, optimal weight is what's really important for your brain to function properly. Because there's a rule out there, and it comes from the work of Dr. Daniel Amen. The bigger your waist, the smaller your brain. And in this situation, we want a big brain and a small waist. And the last essential element of life is air, or oxygen. And I want to know, how do you know you're getting enough oxygen? You know when you're awake, you're breathing, so you know you're getting some oxygen. But what about when you're sleeping? One of the easiest ways to find out if you're getting enough oxygen is to do a sleep study. But not everybody needs a sleep study. However, if you're experiencing memory loss, if you wake up several times during the night, if you're low on energy during the day, you may not be getting an adequate amount of oxygen during the night. In fact, you may even stop breathing during the night and don't know it. So a sleep study is the easiest way to find out, because it's an at-home 3-day test, and it detects if you are getting the minimum amount of oxygen that your brain needs to function optimally. So I want to tell you about one of our clients, Roger. He is a Vietnam vet. He's active, he's married, he has 3 grown children and 3 grandchildren. And his wife came to us because she said he's falling asleep when he's watching TV. He just was slower. He just didn't seem to have as much energy. He didn't have that get up and go like he's always had. But what really got her was that he was having trouble remembering his grandkids' names. They just weren't coming to him. And he'd make fun, but she was very clear they weren't right there. So because of our physical, our brain physical, and exploring all of these questions, all the three essentials of life, we realized that, maybe a sleep test was important. So we had a sleep test, and it was determined. He had a disease called sleep apnea. And sleep apnea is when you stop breathing several times during the night, and it limits the supply of oxygen to your brain. And his brain was experiencing chronic stress because he wasn't breathing several times at night. So treatment is easy. He gets a CPAP machine, and many of you may even know what that is, but a CPAP machine is so vital to brain health, wearing it and using it, or finding out if you need it. Because what happened then, in a few short weeks, actually it started a few short days, but in a few short weeks, his energy was back. He remembered his grandkids' names, and he was having so much fun, and he wasn't falling asleep in front of the TV every time he sat down. These are simple, but they're essential, and they really make a difference for your brain health. So step 2 now, we want to understand what are the stressors that cause unhealthy brains that we don't know about after the essentials. So the first stressor we talked about with my husband, which is trauma. There are many traumas that could happen. It can be PTSD, emotional trauma, disease, a stroke, heart disease, head injuries, car accidents. It can even be delivery when you were born, on your delivery. Many times children, their oxygen supply gets cut off for a period of time, and they think, it looks like the child's perfectly healthy, but then 40 or 50 or 60 years later, they experience memory loss. It causes damage. But there's other damages that can be caused to your brain. There's chemical stressors like toxins, alcohol, medication, smoking, and sugar, and emotional stressors, such as depression, anxiety, fear, and just simply the feeling of stress like we've been experiencing over the last several months, are not knowing exactly what's going to happen can actually cause damage to your brain. And we know that stress turns into chronic stress. And you may be aware of symptoms, but many times symptoms that you just don't notice them. You think they're because of aging. You think this just happens. You just don't notice them, or you may not experience them, like I said, for decades. So today, just for the limited time we have, I'm going to pick one of these single stressors. And the one I want to pick is sugar. Because sugar stresses your brain. And when we eat sugar, it spikes our blood sugar, which spikes to our brain, and it causes stress. But what that stress does is cause damage to the cells in your brain. There are a group of scientists that used rats for an experiment, and they gave the rats a choice. Would you like to have cocaine, or would you like to have sugar? So I'm wondering, with a raise of hands, with a few people that have their videos on, how many think it's cocaine that they chose? Anybody? How many think sugar? You don't think either one? Oh, sugar, that's great. So I think it's really interesting that a substance like cocaine that is totally addictive, damages, we know how much damage, it's illegal. Yet, that's not what the rats picked. They picked this wonderful, beautiful legal substance that looks pretty, that tastes good in cakes and sodas and tomato sauce and bread. And you're correct. The rats chose the sugar. In fact, sugar is one of the most addictive substances known to man. And sugar damages brain cells. And it leads to a wide range of diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, anxiety, because sugar rewires your brain. Sugar can cause you to experience symptoms like low energy, confusion, anxiety, headaches, and body aches and pain. Body aches and pain in your body. That's what inflammation is telling you. It comes out in body aches. It comes out of your body with confusion. Those are the symptoms. Then it's telling you your brain is under stress. Sugar creates an acidic environment. It feeds inflammation. So every time you eat sugar, you're feeding whatever inflammation is in your body. It could be in your brain. It can be anywhere, but it feeds it. It's the food. So once you identify the source of chronic stress, you actually, and that causes your brain to have the inflammation, you actually can stop that stress. You can stop the cause. And stopping the cause stops the continual assault on your brain. And stopping the assault on your brain is actually the first step in reversing inflammation and reversing the opportunity for continued brain memory loss. For it will reverse those aches and pains. It is truly amazing. So let me tell you about one of our clients, Martha. She was a 40-year-old woman. She had a number of falls in her childhood. She suffered her entire life from lack of energy and anxiety. And she'd tell you sometimes she just wanted to jump out of her skin. She suffered from headaches and body aches once in a while. But what had been happening is she was alienating herself from her family because she was experiencing these emotional, angry outbursts, and she really had no idea. But she knew she had to do something because she was really, she was isolating herself from her family. So she came in, and with the brain physical, looking at life's essentials, looking at the chronic stress, we realized that she was not eating nutritious food. So her brain was not getting the nutrients it needs. So she changed her habits. She got rid of processed food. She started eating real foods. She gave up sugar. She lost 25 pounds. She was thrilled. But the really amazing thing is that she got her energy back, but her family noticed the difference. She no longer had those emotional outbursts. You see, that chronic stress rewired her brain. And so chronic stress is so unhealthy for the brain. And understanding the missing pieces, understanding your symptoms is the key to restoring brain health.
Becky, I'm gonna ask you a question at this stage.
Sure.
So, when you talk about limiting sugar, and we know that carbs and sugar sort of go hand in hand. So are you saying go on a carb-free diet, or limiting your carbs, or because we all love pasta and all that. So can you explain that further?
Yeah, absolutely. So processed carbs, right? So you talk about pasta. So pasta is made out of processed carbs, processed flour. They take all the nutrition out of it. And when they take the nutrition out of your food, when you eat food, it signals to your brain that you're getting nutrients, and your brain is ready. It needs it. It sets itself up, and then you eat pasta. And what pasta does then, it processes in your body like sugar because it's a processed food. It doesn't have any nutrients in it. So the only choice for your body is to process like sugar, which spikes up the blood sugar. It damages your brain cells, and your body's still looking for nutrients. So it starts disorganizing your brain. So you may notice that the symptom you would notice, it's not chronic if you eat one serving of pasta. And I want to tell you that if your brain is healthy, it's not never eat pasta. It's the 80-20 rule. If you have a healthy brain and you eat 80% of the time healthy, 20% of the time your body can take care of it because your brain is amazing. But most of us just think as we age that we don't recognize the symptoms to understand the difference. And that's what is really critical. So to get back to the answer, there are pastas that are made that minimize the damage. The Italian pastas do, they have a particular enzyme in them that do this. There is educating yourself about what's real about food is very interesting. Our packaging, our FDA, I mean, this is a whole talk on itself that I am happy to give you about FDA and about packaging and what you're really getting. So I always say the easiest thing is I don't think there's a one size fits all on, we are all unique individuals. But what I think is really important that the majority of your diet needs to be whole foods, real food, real water, the essentials of life. And then if once in a while you eat a processed carb, it's not going to become, it's going to stress your body, but your body will be able to minimize the stress and it will go back to normal and functioning. It won't go to chronic stress, which is the continuing assault on the body. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So my last step that I'm going to talk about today is a healthy brain needs healthy thoughts. So, you know, I've suggested to many, I've suggested to this morning and many people have suggested to me that memory loss is just a part of aging, and that people accept body aches and pains because that's part of aging too. And I also shared with you that at our clinic, we don't believe that. We know that those are just symptoms of stress in your brain and in your body, and that you can be free of aches and pains. But also, there needs to be an understanding of the way we think, because the way we think, our thoughts in our head, is part of our brain, and it really doesn't get looked at. But scientists have identified that the human brain decides on a belief, and then it goes about confirming that belief. And that principle is called confirmation bias. So when you hear the saying, you are the makeup of your 5 closest friends, that's symbolizing this theory called confirmation bias. But let me explain it a little with an example. I would suggest that all of us at one time or another may have lost our keys somewhere. We knew we had them, we put them down, we can't find them. I know I've done this. And so I'll go, oh my gosh, I can't find my keys. And I have to go. And I'll ask my husband, come on, I need your help. I can't find my keys. And he goes, well, where did you last have them? I put them in the kitchen, but I went there and looked. I looked twice, they're not there. And he's going, okay, all right, I'll look. He walks right into the kitchen, right where I looked, and there are the keys. Now, you know, was he playing a trick on me? You know, did he hide them and then sneak them in? I really don't think that he did that. What really happened is that our brain, when we tell it, I was telling it, I don't know where my keys are. I looked, I can't find them. I've lost them. I'm telling my brain with emotion that they are not here. And our brain, that's my belief. It goes about and makes it happen. You actually cannot, it blocks the view of the keys that are right in front of you. And I invite you to start really looking at that particular theory. It's amazing. And I'm going to share with Bruce that he can send out. There is a cute little video, and it's called The Invisible Gorilla, that will actually really take this a step further so that you can really play with that theory. Because when you play with it, what happens is whatever we believe, that's what we see. So that's what I'm talking to you about brain health and about memory. We have been told over and over again by many, many people that memory loss is a part of aging, and that we will all at some point in our life have memory loss. I don't know about that. What I know about is that in our time of life right now, there's an opportunity to actually restore memory loss, to stop memory loss, to learn what the chronic stressors are in your life that may be causing memory loss, whether it is disease. But, you know, even Alzheimer's, they're very clear that it is a lifestyle disease at the beginning. And that's why I'm so passionate about everybody really understanding you may not be experiencing any symptoms. That does not mean that your brain is not under stress. And learning what that is and having your doctor understand, and you understand, you being in control of that can make a huge difference for your longevity and the quality of your life. So the last thing I want to say to you is that I had a client, you know, her name was Julie, and she was in a terrible car accident, which left her legs in constant pain. And she, you know, she took physical therapy, she's taking medication, you know, they've done everything they could do, but she was still experiencing terrible pain whenever somebody touched her legs. So after we did the brain physical with her, and after we explored these steps that I talked to you about, we realized that trauma, like I said, it caused a disorganization of her brain. It rewired it. So and our brain is wired to our central nervous system, which is how we feel pain. So what we did then is we used neurofeedback, and neurofeedback is a non-invasive, really low energy way for your body. It's just a way for electrodes. It's megahertz. It's waves, electronic waves that go in, and it's 1,000 times less than your cell phone waves. But what's really great about it is it allows your brain to unstick stuck parts. And whatever got stuck that was having her experience that pain got unstuck, so her brain could reorganize. And that reorganization gave her back her life where she could actually touch her legs, because she was doing everything else that needed to be done. But her brain hadn't reorganized itself to help her. And that's what's possible. So I invite you to think about what your life is going to look like 10 years from now if you don't use these 3 steps to a brain physical. And I propose that the easiest way to determine what your life will look like 10 years from now is to look back at your life 10 years ago. Do you experience more aches and pains? Are you more or less active? Do you have more energy or less energy? So one of the most common questions, and I'll stay on to answer any questions, but I get is, what do I do? What should I do? And for all of you here, I shared with Bruce a questionnaire that you are welcome to fill out, and I would love for you to do that. And it really identifies how healthy your brain is, your healthy brain habits, and many of your risk factors. And that assessment would be the really great start for you to know where to start in all of these steps. And because you're here today, I'm going to offer to talk to each one of you that fills out that assessment personally. And we'll spend 15 minutes on the phone, and I'll answer any questions specific to you, because that's what's so important. Every single person is different. One size doesn't fit any of us. One size is just the beginning. Then you have to find out what your size is.
Becky, this is great. This is so great, so helpful. How would people get a hold of you if they want to?
Okay, so Bruce, I've shared with you my email, my phone number, shared that with all of them. My phone, I can give you my phone number, my personal cell phone number. You don't even need to call the office. It's 859-992-4361. And my email is Becky@regainthebrain, all spelled out, .com. And I want to share with you, I talked earlier about my husband and told you his story, our story. And I want you to know that we did restore his memory, and he's experienced the most amazing last 2 years. He's been playing with his grandchildren my step-grandchildren, and traveled. We've been traveling all over the place. He even went back to Vietnam after 50 years with my daughter, that he could not have done that before. But the most amazing part of his whole story is he found a new passion in life. He just finished his certification as a personal trainer about 9 months ago. And he was 2 years older than anybody that had ever been certified before. He's working at a local physicale with people his own age. And now with this virus and with the stay-at-home order, he's actually trained to become a master trainer. And I have no idea when he passed how much older than anybody else is, but he is having the best time of his life. And that's what I want for you. You deserve the best time of your life. You deserve the best health in your life. You just deserve it. So sorry, Bruce. Thank you so much for your listening, patience.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everybody now. And so if people have questions, they can just ask you a question right now, or they can talk to you privately. Anybody have any questions for Becky?
A lot of information, you know.
A lot. It's very good information. You know, you think about the stressors that we have in our life and what that does, and even in our current situation, what that's doing to us.
Right, and how much you can do for yourself. It's taking that on. I'm sorry, I hear a question.
No. Well, Becky, thank you so much for being part of this. This has been very insightful and motivational as well. And I think everybody should go drink some water and cut back on the pasta. And so thank you all very much for being part of this. And Becky, it's great to have you. And I'll be sending you some information on Becky and how to reach out to her. And but you're doing great, Becky, and appreciate your help.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I'm so grateful. And anybody, please reach out anytime. I look forward to supporting you. And brain health. I don't want you to lose your memory.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Right.